Alright guys, not gonna lie or bullcrap ya, but I took a break for a couple hours. We left off on number 15 being A View to a Kill. It is like almost 5 in the morning out here. But hey, we're gonna keep trucking along. My phone says I have like 45 minutes worth of video I can record, so I don't know. Let's make the best of it. How about that? So again, as you can tell, probably some of my most controversial listings so far has probably been Skyfall, Majesty, and What's About to Be Next. Oh, and From Russia with Love. But What's About to Be Next is gonna turn a lot of heads. So, without further ado, number 14, Goldfinger. So, this one dropped a little bit. It was number 8 on my 2016 list, roughly 5 years ago. And it's not that I grew a disdain for this film or thought that it got worse or any of that. It's just that I can put it this way. Goldfinger's the film that like solidified a formula for the franchise. So I see that as like a stepping point for even more movies that could make the formula better or take it in different directions. So I just see Goldfinger as a very essential movie, and I think that's a good thing. However, I just think that there's far more movies that came about because it was the third movie in the franchise, and 21 more movies have came after it that found and did more things or new things. But Goldfinger is always a classic. I always come back to it. I always have a dashing time with it. So no shade, no foul, no harm on Goldfinger. Just there happens to be 13 other movies I'll pick over it. So moving on. Number 13 is Live and Let Die. This movie has a very unique identity, and I know I said earlier I don't like Bond films that are invaded as a product of its time, but Live and Let Die is just such a unique case because I get it, the blaxploitation stuff's a bit controversial, but I don't know, maybe I don't have much room to talk as a mostly or entirely Caucasian guy. I don't really see it as racially insensitive, and other people I've talked to that really like the film and who aren't white or this and that doesn't even matter. But I've even talked to them and they say, oh no, it's a perfectly fine film, a really good 70s film. And yeah, like when it comes to controversy in the modern day where 2021 everything has to be politicized, I mean, people just didn't really care that much back then. They just cared that they had a good action romp and that Roger Moore gave a very good first performance. And he's just so confident this first time around, especially coming off the hills of Lazenby and them bringing back Connery to kind of reel the franchise back in because they thought, the producers thought things were going wrong. And the fact that Moore stood his own ground first time he went, like, it was a lot, and I think he deserves more credit. No pun intended, more credit. So, before I go, before I go off of number 13, I think things to bring up that really worked about this movie. It's just, I don't know, it's just the tone and atmosphere too. The George Martin score is just freaking amazing. So this movie as a whole, blaxploitation aside, has a very unique identity, and it really sets it apart from the rest of the franchise. So it sits comfortably but high at number 13. I would say that's for sure. This next one is The World Is Not Enough, 1999, right before the turn of the century, and man, I would say this movie, it used to be top 5 for me. What drags it down, what made it fall down quite a few places, but still fairly high, seeing that it's number 12, is Denise Richards. I really hate sniffling because it probably smells or sounds disgusting behind the camera. But anyway, Denise Richards is Christmas Jones. I'm being dead ass. That's literally the Bond girl's name, Christmas Jones, and she's this like Scream actress or whatever horror movies or I Know What You Did Last Summer shit. We're meant to believe that she is this American nuclear biologist working in the middle of like Azerbaijan or wherever the world is not enough takes place with the oil pipeline. It's like, yeah, are you really bullshitting me that much? Yeah, and she was just such a bad Bond girl. She really was like the Jar Jar Binks of Bond girls, and she really does hold back the film. And it's not a personal attack on Miss Richards. It's just she was given bad material, and she is not an actress shoot in or fitted in any way for the 007 franchise. Brosnan, on the other hand, or let's not talk about Bond himself. The other girl, who is actually the villain, Elektra King, played by Sophie Marceau, if that's how I properly pronounce her name. She is really like the first female main villain, and you got like Rosa Klebb in the past and From Russia with Love, but she really is like the main character, because a lot of people go into this thinking that Renard, who's also a really cool quote-unquote villain, he has a bullet in his head, he can't feel pain, he's kind of like the Jaws of the Brosnan era. I think he's a really cool character. He's like a glorified henchman, because it's really Elektra who's the Machiavellian just baddie, and she's beautiful, she's bad, she's great. And Brosnan kind of channels like a conflicted cold-bloodedness that the Fleming Bond had. And it's kind of like Roger Moore put it a certain way. He said that the Bond he tried portraying killed but did not enjoy it. And you can tell Brosnan's Bond is actually conflicted in this film. Like, because in GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, he just kind of lights him up. He just lights him up like no problem. Puts lead and rounds down range. But in this one, Elektra, she's threatening the world. With Renard getting into the submarine and basically bombing the pipeline, and he has to make a choice. Spoiler alert! And he shoots her point blank. He shoots her point blank, and it was like a pretty cold-blooded kill that Brosnan scored. So, in retrospect, The World Is Not Enough changed up the formula while being on paper with its action, a formulaic film. So it kind of balanced that conundrum in a very tactful, I would say effective way. And in that regard, it deserves a lot more credit. I just think really Denise Richards having a spotlight for like the other half of the film, it just didn't work. I like the return of Zhukovsky, whoever the Russian thug was in GoldenEye. He was actually kind of a cool character. It's nice seeing him fulfill a little arc and returning the favor to James and saving him. The pre-title sequence is phenomenal. I would say other than Thunderball, and I mean let me look through it real quickly. Like, let's actually look through these notes. Thunderball, Die Another Day, Diamonds Are Forever. It's up there for one of the best pre-title sequences without a doubt. So yeah, that's why The World Is Not Enough is teed close to the top 10. Sitting high and comfortable at number 12. Yeah, it did drop because I got older, I matured, and had different tastes for the Bond franchise, but it's still a very highly regarded film in my mind, and I know a lot of people can agree with that. So moving on, number 11. Getting into top 10 territory, almost there, but get to 11. And yeah, this is where I would catch some flack. But oh boy, wait until we get to number 10. It's gonna be a bloodbath. But Moonraker, guys, he goes to fucking space. He goes to fucking space, guys. what's a flaw I could actually legitimately sift out of this, other than the fact that it cash grabbed in on the Star Wars craze. It is literally the same plot as The Spy Who Loved Me, which is the movie that came right before it. Instead of underwater with Strongbird, it's in space with Hugo Drax, and it's actually Drax is a way better villain. Drax is also up there. He's easily top 10 favorite Bond villains for me. So yeah, other than Moonraker being contrived from its own predecessor, it's a fucking joy of a film. I love it. Roger Moore is just so comfortable in the role at that point. Jaws, I like seeing him again. I know people said, oh, they goofed up Jaws. Like, I don't care. He's funny. He's cool. I like Lois Chiles a lot as Dr. Goodhead. I mean, come on. Can you really get mad at this movie, guys? Come on. That's why it's like basically top 10, if not, number 11, that close. I love Moonraker. I really do. So, it had to come to this. But let's... Okay, that was an acidic burp. That was not pleasant, and I apologize for my lack of manners. But number 10 is, I'm going to stop prevaricating and pussyfooting. It is Die Another Day. I mean, the pre-title is fucking god tier. Like, the North Korean espionage and... harkening back to Diamonds Are Forever with like the diamond trade, and this movie's fucking stupid. It's so dumb, but it has everything going against it. The first third of it is actually a good movie, and then I think around the time Bond goes to Cuba, and then like you see Halle Berry do her CGI jump off the thing. The whole film shats the bed and goes downhill, and it is a tantrum of a mess, but it is so entertaining to unravel. It's like watching a dumpster fire during like a South American riot. You can just not help yourself but watch and be a little entertained by the chaos and unraveling of quite literally the franchise. But I love Pierce. Jinx is sexy. She's a great Bond girl. Even with her short hair, it bothered me as a little kid, but seeing women with short hair now, I love it. It's good that they did not make a spin-off series of her. If anything, I would have liked the Chinese gal, or not Chinese. It's like the Hong Kong gal from Tomorrow Never Dies. Like Mei Lin, I think is her name. She would have been great if she had a spin-off movie, or even Ana de Armas. I would root for that the most. But just Die Another Day is a guilty pleasure, and it's so bad that it reverse engineers itself into greatness. I mean, I love the car chase on the ice bed. If you all know what I'm talking about, he races Zhao. He gets a pretty good kill by shooting the chandelier, and it just drops on his face. The climax in the last fight is actually atrocious, with Gustav Graves having... Let me look at it. Gustav Graves, you know that Fred Savage movie from the fucking mid-'80s? Wizard? It's like he has that video game arm, like that Nintendo thing. Like Gustav Graves is wearing that had sex with a RoboCop suit, and he's using Palpatine electricity against James. It is so bad, but it's just so entertaining. I'm talking in and out of loops now. I just got to get off this fucking number 10 slot. Just guys, we're done. Okay, number 9, Diamonds Are Forever. Okay. This list was not edited right, so my apologies. So we're gonna do some back and forth. Sorry about that, guys. So number 9 is Diamonds Are Forever. I guess I didn't edit the list properly before shooting the second part of this video, but hey, it is what it is. We adapt and overcome, as fucking Marnies would say. Not Marines, Marnies. Fucking Diamonds Are Forever. It just has really good witty dialogue and dark humor. Other than that, this movie's not that good. But having Connery back, and again, nothing against Lazenby. I think he did a perfectly fine job considering his situation. But it's just, I don't know. I think the quips are really funny in this movie, and the fact that like James Bond is in a tack ass Las Vegas where I was born, it's just kind of a funny predicament that this film is. I think it's a giant missed opportunity though, that it couldn't have actually followed up Majesty with or without Lazenby, with or without Connery. It should have to some extent been a License-esque to Kill plot with Bond getting revenge for Teresa's death. It didn't have to be a dark revenge flick. It could have still had its wit, but the core of the story still should have been like, you know, Bond addressing his dead wife, and that's his motive to go after Blofeld, other than them being ambiguous about it in the pre-title sequence, which is actually good because he's like, where's Blofeld? And him tracking him down, and then it just kind of stops there. It's very vague, and then after the pre-title sequence, M and the other higher-ups at MI6 are like, oh, like, it's good to see you, like, you're back from vacation, Bond, and then they just get an expository dialogue about these diamonds that Mr. Kidd and Mr. Wint are killing people for. And they're a great gay evil duo, but now that I'm like looking, you know, hearing myself, I have a lot of like not so good things to say about this film, but I'm being completely honest with you. Guy Hamilton's direction and the wit and humor of this movie is what really drags it out of the mud and gives it a polish. So I do acknowledge it's not a high quality film or Bond film to begin with, but it's just so unique. And like, rather than being a product of its time, it is a product of itself within the Bond franchise. So I think it's how it distinguishes itself from like Moonraker, Die Another Day, and Live and Let Die, and how it's actually higher on the list as number 9. So number 8 now. Again, this list is fucked up on the letterbox, but hey, okay, now it actually came up as it was supposed to. Number 8 is The Spy Who Loved Me. And this is the highest ranking Roger Moore film on my list. And hey, number 8 out of 25. Kudos, good shit. This is a great Cold War détente era piece. So you're actually seeing the West work with the, not the British because they are the West. You're seeing the West work with the Russians. So this film isn't about, oh, we're going to have World War III because Russia and America still hate each other. No, it was around the time like Nixon went to China, Nixon talked to Brezhnev, then we had Gerald Ford as president, you know, easing tensions, and then by the time this came out, Jimmy Carter was president, and things were looking a lot more peaceful. So on a meta level, The Spy Who Loved Me is a détente Cold War movie, and I think it's kind of beautiful and funny. And Moore just has like big dick swinging energy in this film. He just owns it. He just owns it. It's his third movie. The Man with the Golden Gun kind of underperformed when it first came out, and they're like, hey, this movie's number 10. It's Roger's third movie. He's comfortable in the role. He's found his footing, and everybody owns it. It's just such a wonderful culmination of the franchise since it's at its 12th or 10th film. I'm like literally chewing on my words because it's like 5 in the morning now, but I'm not trying to make excuses. The third act and climax is just amazing. Seeing Bond in his commander naval uniform kind of look like more military-ish than a spy by the end of it, it's just a lot of fun. Like, what else did I write down about this? Yeah, that's essentially what I have to say about it. Let's see. Number 7. Let's get to number 7. It is Tomorrow Never Dies. So we're getting into top 7 territory. These are the top 7 007 movies for me, of my personal preference and favorites. And yeah, if I had to consolidate them just to 7, just for the arbitrary number, Tomorrow Never Dies is what starts us out. And This movie is aging like a fine goddamn wine. It is surprisingly relevant to the landscape that we are in today, with media manipulation, tensions brewing in the South China Sea. Um, you know, it doesn't say anything about Taiwan, but in 2021, that's a flashpoint for a third world war, or just geopolitical tensions to begin with. So I'm surprised by the hindsight, or not hindsight, but by the foresight of this film, and how a real villain is a famous figure with maniacal intentions about his media conglomerate. And you get some Fleming moments from Brosnan when he's sitting in the hotel room waiting for Paris Carver, and then later on he finds her dead, and he has to shock the German professor assassin, and he shoots him with his own gun. It was all badass shit. Not Mei Ling. That's the Asian chick from Metal Gear Solid, but I felt like an ass. But the Chinese, or the Hong Kong spy that's at first at odds with James and then teams up with him, kind of like The Man with the Golden Gun. We get some good kung fu stuff. It's like a Hong Kong flick. It's a lot of fun. Tomorrow Never Dies is just straight up fun. It is a late 90s techno spy espionage movie that has to do with media manipulation, and it's like, it doesn't even try to be political, but in this day and age, retrospectively, it does have now a political layer to it, without even trying too hard. So that is what I adore about Tomorrow Never Dies. So moving to number 6, I gotta scroll back because I fucked up the list, and it is the brand new No Time to Die. I saw it just over a day ago now, and I was worried when this movie, it was turbulent, because that is not my ass ripping. Please trust me or believe me, that is just the leather of the seat. But No Time to Die, it blew me out of the fucking water. Okay? The self-grandiose, this, I'm trying to like articulate this and do it justice. The grandiose self, again, it's fucking 5, 6 in the morning. I'm chewing on my words like a son of a bitch. The grandiose sense of self that Skyfall had for the 50th anniversary, and the overly interconnected, undercooked shit that Spectre did and failed at miserably. No Time to Die rectifies that and atones for those 2 past movie sins tenfold. The action scenes are earned and exhilarating. Not to say Skyfall wasn't. I would say that's more on Spectre for being hollow. Yeah, Rami Malek was a flat villain, I guess, but he looks fucking terrifying. He's a great actor. His Safin mask is his first name's literally Lucifer, and his name's Safin, and his mask. You ever seen that 1926 Japanese psychological thriller, A Page of Madness, where it takes place in a Japanese asylum? I got vibes from that. It's one of the most terrifying movies I've ever seen in my life, and I'll maybe do a video in the future talking about it. But Daniel Craig, like, he felt flat in Spectre because they wrote him as a non-dynamic character. They wrote him again as a flat character when, since Casino Royale, Quantum, Spectre, or Skyfall, he was a very dynamic, oscillating character. In Spectre, they just kind of flattened him out. But like, he's quippy, he's comedic in this one, but he also has that kill switch on him. You know, get down to business. It's a license to kill, use it or lose it. Like, he does embody that still. I mean, what else am I getting at? Movie had fucking balls. When I heard back in like 2018 that the working title was Shatterhand, and then one of the running titles was A Reason to Die, I'm like, he's gonna fucking die. I mean, it's Daniel Craig's, his 5th movie is for sure gonna be his last one, so it's like a reason to die. They might finish off his arc, like mortality wise as well. And then later in 2018 they announced it's No Time to Die. I'm like, still die. Like, I felt from the start it was indicative from the fact that what the title suggests and the fact that it's Daniel Craig's last movie and he's married, and it's like, okay, so either Madeline's gonna die or either he's gonna die. You know, it was all evident. And I know it seems like it was bad that like maybe it was getting spoiled just by the connotations of the title, but it's like, no, like they could have just done another run-of-the-mill James Bond will return, and yes, they do it at the end of this movie after the credits, but it's like knowing that Daniel Craig finished off with just a raw emotional punch. I mean, and like I said, it atones for what the last 2 Craig movies fucked up, in my opinion. And they could have stopped at Skyfall, of just him saying with pleasure, M, with pleasure. You know, the head canon is, oh, James just continues on with future missions, but the franchise stops at the 50-year mark and closes a chapter there to maybe never be opened again. Just live on through those memories of the 23 films. It would have been satisfying. Spectre sludged it up. If the Bond franchise or if Daniel Craig's tenure ended at Spectre, it would have been a disaster. That's why these last 6 years were agonizing, knowing that is the film to stop at for then. But now that we have No Time to Die, seeing James, and there's a lot of debate about, oh, you know, masculinity, the feminists are killing him, and you know, Han Solo, Indiana Jones is next, and Luke Skywalker. It's like, yeah, I don't know if they even killed. I don't know. I haven't seen Rambo: Last Blood. I think he might have died in that too. I don't know, but basically what I'm getting at is no. James Bond did like the most fucking noble, manly thing you could think of. This man died for his family. And yeah, he had the virus, and he would have killed him if he got to like touch or hug Madeline and Mathilde. But he just died for his family. That's like the manliest thing anybody could have done. I adored this film, and I thought I wasn't gonna think much of it. I went into it thinking, yeah, Bond's gonna die, and there's gonna be some weird feminazi shit because of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I didn't like the shit she did with Solo: A Star Wars Story. I like that film a lot, but the thing that holds it back for me thinking it's like a 4 or 5 star film is the feminazi droid and some of Phoebe Waller-Bridge's influence. So I'm surprised that she like actually had some good input for this film. And for fair argument's sake, think of it this way. Ian Fleming was a World War II intel officer, something along those lines, and he had very archaic, backwards ideas that he put in his James Bond book. I've only read like 2 or 3 Bond books. The one I can actually remember from raw memory is The Man with the Golden Gun. I listened to that through an audiobook when I did construction with my old man, probably the summer after I graduated high school, before I worked up in the Alta ski resort in Little Cottonwood. And like the most weirdest thing I heard in The Man with the Golden Gun is Scaramanga is gay because he can't whistle. So that makes him a latent homosexual. So it's like, just put it in this perspective. Ian Fleming's idea of machismo and like just masculinity was pretty fucking backwards to begin with. And I would say some problems with like Goldfinger and some of the Connery movies is like, it's like there's straight up sex assault scenes. And I'm not trying to sound like a fucking soy boy SJW white knight, but there are things in like the 60s and even early 70s Bond movies that did not fucking age well. And No Time to Die, yeah, maybe it was a little too far to have like a well-known feminist to have a writer's influence in it, but surprisingly, she did not invade the script in a uber political way. If anything, a political thing that bothered me with this movie, so an actual flaw, is that it had to be a Russian scientist. It's like we don't need more like tensions with that other country, and I think that's why Danny Boyd left, because they were trying to vilify Eastern powers. You know, having this Russian guy release a mega coronavirus, and that's kind of the crazy thing about this film is like it's a virus. And this movie was written before the pandemic, and it's like it just makes you think. It's like, well, at least on the world was affected by the pandemic, but hey, at least in our minds, James Bond saved the world from one. And you even got Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible Fallout. He stops the atomic bomb virus at the end, so it's kind of cool. In our heads, these movie heroes can save us in some way. But there's so much I can say about this movie, and I know when I'm done with this video and I upload it, I'm like, oh man, I forgot to bring up this aspect or that aspect. But that's probably the biggest point I'm going to knock on is, no, feminist Hollywood is not killing off our male heroes. James Bond died in a fucking manly way, and Ian Fleming's idea of a man's man was pretty fucking questionable. So I think this movie did Bond a lot of justice. It's what I've wanted since Casino Royale in a Bond movie. So it was a long time coming, and a very intoxicating, wealth-inducing payoff for... It was just euphoric, I would say, in some parts. So yeah, a lot of positivity when it comes to that. Let me that was number 6. So number 5 now. Let's scroll past. Is Dr. No. And like Dr. No and No Time to Die are close together on the list, because I just get that like this starting the franchise at Dr. No and ending it at No Time to Die as it stands now. It's just like, I don't know, it's kind of like the Ring theory of George Lucas's prequels and originals. They just kind of, I don't know. It's like something Red Letter Media would make fun of you for. The Vistas, they just kind of connect. But let's see. I'll even look at my notes what I had to say for Dr. No. I don't really want to go into it too much. I'll just kind of come off as monotonous and just drab with how much I go on and talk about it. Besides, I only have like 10 minutes left of recording. But Dr. No is hands down my favorite Bond villain. A movie is only as good as its villain, and Dr. No is a fucking amazing villain. He knocks it out of the park and knocks this movie out of the park. So, moving on, number 4. License to Kill. This is the only movie, I think, ever where you see a man's head explode. You see a man get shot by an electric harpoon in the gut. You see a man get thrown into like a maggot cage or like a maggot case. Bond tells him bon appetit. Timothy Dalton as Bond in this is capital B brutal. You can rip on it for being a fucking Miami Vice Magnum PI. You know, the Cold War just ended, so Bond is out of like shit to do. I don't care. It is low stakes but high octane. It's low stakes because he's not saving the world. His friend had his leg bitten off, and his friend's wife got raped and murdered on the wedding night. And James took that personally because same shit basically happened to him 20 years earlier. So he's fucking unhinged. Like, this in Quantum of Solace is the most unhinged you see James Bond, and Dalton started it with this one. I mean, what else is there to say? Yeah, he throws Benicio del Toro in a fucking meat grinder. I mean, can you really rank this one that low? But the question is, how high can you rank it? It's my 4th favorite Bond movie. I think my 2016 list, it was my runner-up as my most favorite Bond movie. So it's still in a sturdy top 5 position. But I defend this movie tooth and nail. John Glenn did a fabulous job directing it. It's a shame it was Dalton's last movie, but Dalton only needed one movie to make an impression, so at least he got another shot with License to Kill. We're gonna move on to number 3. Doesn't come to much as a surprise. Casino Royale. It was actually originally number 9 for me in 2016, so it's you know, the more mature and older I become, I've appreciated this film more. Some of the best scenes are the poker scenes, just like from the book. I think the Bond books I have read in full is for sure Casino Royale, because I remember Vesper dying at the end, like she does in the movie, and then most of it is really just the showdown, casino-wise, in the game between Bond and Le Chiffre. All the other stuff is stuff Martin Campbell injected with his masterful filmmaking. And then I remember Man with the Golden Gun, and I maybe only remember it's the one with the missile, so Moonraker. But I really need to get back into reading the Bond books. But yeah, Casino Royale is faithful, but it's also faithful in being a modern James Bond in the modern age, because they could have just copped out and made it take place in the late 50s or the early 60s. And that's what I worry about a Bond reboot. They're gonna get skittish, and if they cast Michael Fassbender, who would be way too fucking old, or Idris Elba, who would be way too fucking old, or Henry Cavill, who's maybe at the right age, I feel like they're gonna get scared and impish and skittish and be like, oh god, we don't know what to do. We had a virus, we had the Illuminati. We're just gonna reboot it in the past. That's the worst thing they could do. Martin Campbell and Broccoli and company knew the right thing to do. Eon and company knew the right thing to do. Get Daniel Craig, who's an underdog, blue eyes, blonde hair, James Bond scandal, and just fucking make it work. Make it work in 2006, and they did. And I commend them for that. I really don't know what else there's to say about this movie. I'll probably have a little more to say about number 2, though, and that is The Living Daylights. And guys, I swear to God, I'm not ripping ass. It is this false leather seat. Choose to believe me, choose not to. And see that's a 5.0 rating like Casino Royale. Living Daylights is purely phenomenal. And I've used phenomenal probably 50 fucking times in this video. Oh, by the way, Casino Royale, the Chris Cornell song, it's just great. It's just great. When I listen to that song, I pretend I'm like some super soldier or some fucking James Bond myself. But Living Daylights also has a great song. Sure, the pre-title sequence isn't like the go-to, but it's so good. It's a training exercise gone wrong. And that's why they're killing other 00 agents and leaving those tags toying with MI6 and James. Saunders' death, right when James and Saunders become cordial with each other, become friends, and I think it's Necros, the blonde guy with like the milk crates that blow up, which is pretty hilarious, kills him. Yeah. This movie has a lot of good fight scenes, and there's no over-the-top villain, really. It's just about, like, generals fighting in a bureaucratic war, and then the opium trade in Afghanistan, and using that opium for diamond trade. So it's, like, it's realistic with what actually went on. And this is a movie that took place during the Afghanistan conflict when the Russians invaded. So it doesn't use, like, hindsight to tell their own story. It just tells it in the now of, yeah, there's British involved, there's Americans involved, there's the Mujahideen, there's the Soviets. It's just one big quagmire clusterfuck of just shit happening. And James Bond is an agent of the imperial government, just kind of doing his job, sifting out shit. So and Dalton made this movie. He absolutely did. So let's just move on to number 1. I got about 5 minutes of video left. And as it stands, as it always has, ever since I've seen James Bond, it's GoldenEye. This is... So, 1989, the Berlin Wall came down, and relations with the Soviet Union became friendly before their dissolution in 1991. So that's where I guess License to Kill even fell flat in the box office. It still made money, but it just wasn't. People thought Bond died. with Timothy Dalton's second movie. And GoldenEye said, no. We are a post-Cold War James Bond world. You know, 006 is a runner-up to Dr. No is my favorite villain. You know, there's financial terrorism. Tomorrow Never Dies. There's the media terrorism, and I think World Is Not Enough and Die Another Day definitely taper off with good villain motives. But Brosnan's first two films were strong as steel, with still making Bond relevant with maniacal motives from the villain, which GoldenEye was a statement of James Bond's survival, which allowed him to survive into the 21st century and allowed Martin Campbell to even direct Casino Royale after the mess that was Die Another Day derailing the franchise. So I see this film pivotal to the franchise's survival, of how successful it was. Everything is so memorable about it. I barely and maybe played the GoldenEye game once in my life. I have no sentimental connection to that game, but for so many other fans, they do, and it enhances this film, or like the gravitas and the mystique of this film in the 90s. And again, I'm a 2001 baby. I was I was probably just getting off my mom's teat when Die Another Day came off, or I was barely over a year old when Die Another Day came out. Like, I am a baby of Brosnan and Craig era, but I associate myself more with Dalton and Dalton and Brosnan. I'm still a big admirer of Daniel Craig, but the late 80s to the late 90s is the hot spot for James Bond for me. And for the longest time, Pierce Brosnan was the only guy I even associated Agent 007 or the James Bond name to. So yeah, that is my list. I'm running out of space on my phone. I got like 4 more minutes to really jibber jabber, but yeah, that's the list. Goofy movies like Die Another Day made it pretty high. Diamonds Are Forever, but also No Time to Die, I thought was going to be a underwhelming flop of, oh yeah, they killed James Bond, and it just becomes an SJW cesspool, and it surprisingly wasn't. It packed an emotional punch. It had cojones like On Her Majesty's Secret Service did, and I admire that film for that, even though it's not my go-to or favorite. And yeah, this is just an updated take. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully I become more of a frequent uploader in the foreseeable future. But yeah, this closes out this video for the night. So all y'all take care.